throw away because I'm not ready for this to be tied to my main. I, 34M, have been married to my wife, 32F, for 6 years. Together for 9. For most of that time, I genuinely believed we were solid. Not perfect, not some Instagram fantasy couple, but stable. We had inside jokes, weekend routines, shared goals. We talked about kids someday. We had plans. But if I'm being brutally honest, there were always cracks. She's sharp. Not witty sharp, I mean cutting. When she's in a bad mood, she doesn't argue. She slices. Sarcastic comments disguised as just being honest. Eye rolls when I talk about my day. Little lies that were too small to confront but too frequent to ignore. I forgot. You're imagining that. That's not what I said. It became this constant low-level confusion where I was always second-guessing my own memory. I told myself that's just marriage. That all couples fight. That I was being sensitive. The first real shift happened about 8 months ago. She started guarding her phone. Like, aggressively. Face down at all times. Took it to the bathroom. Changed her passcode. If I walked into a room while she was texting, she'd flip it over so fast it was almost cartoonish. When I asked about it, she snapped, "God, can I have one thing that's mine?" That should have been it. That should have been the moment I pushed harder. Instead, I apologized. Around the same time, she started coming home later. Work ran long. Drinks with coworkers. New coworker, actually. She mentioned him casually at first. "Oh, Mark said this. Mark thinks that." Just enough repetition that I noticed. When I teased her lightly about having a work husband, she didn't laugh. She just said, "Don't be insecure. It's not attractive." That word stuck with me. Insecure. I started shrinking after that. I stopped asking questions. I stopped bringing up how distant she felt. I convinced myself I was imagining it. But deep down, there was this tight feeling in my chest that wouldn't go away. And looking back now, that was the beginning. About 2 weeks after the phone thing started, something small happened. Small enough that if I tell anyone in real life, they'd probably say I'm overthinking it. It was a Thursday. I remember because Thursdays were our lazy dinner nights. Takeout, couch, trash TV. It was our thing. She texted around 6:30 p.m. "Running late. Don't wait up." That wording bothered me. Don't wait up? We weren't 19-year-olds living in dorms. We lived together. Married. You don't not wait up. I asked what was going on. Drinks after work. Last minute. Chill. Chill. That word again, like any emotion I had, was automatically excessive. She got home around 11:45 p.m. Smelled like perfume, not hers. Sweeter. Lighter. When I asked if she tried something new, she didn't even look at me. Just said, "It's probably from the bar. Stop being weird. Stop being weird." She went straight to the shower. Took her phone with her. I sat on the edge of our bed feeling like an idiot for even noticing details. I told myself I was being paranoid. People go out. People smell like other people. It doesn't mean anything. But then something else happened. At 1:12 a.m., her phone buzzed. She was asleep. Deeply asleep. It lit up the room just enough for me to see a name on the screen. Not Mark. Not a saved contact. Just a number. And the preview. "Miss you already." My stomach actually dropped. Like physically dropped. That hollow roller coaster feeling. I didn't open it. I just stared at the ceiling. The next morning, she acted completely normal. Made coffee. Kissed my cheek. Asked about my meeting. I almost convinced myself I hallucinated the message. So I asked, casually, "Who was texting you so late?" She didn't miss a beat. "Oh, my cousin. Family drama. I didn't want to wake you." "Cousin." I nodded. Pretended to accept it. But here's the thing. Her cousin's name isn't a random unsaved number. And she knows I know that. That was the first time I caught her in a lie I couldn't rationalize away. And instead of exploding, I went quiet, which, in hindsight, was the worst thing I could have done. I've always been that guy who says, if you feel the need to check their phone, the relationship is already over. I used to judge people who snooped. Turns out, Moral high ground gets real shaky when your chest feels like it's caving in every time your wife's phone lights up. A few days after the cousin text, she left her phone on the kitchen counter while she ran upstairs to grab something. That almost never happened anymore. My heart started pounding immediately, like my body reacted before my brain did. I stood there staring at it. I remember thinking, if I look and find nothing, I'll feel insane. If I look and find something, everything changes. I looked. Face ID didn't recognize me, obviously, but she'd recently changed her passcode, and I'd seen her type it in a few times. Muscle memory kicked in. I tried it. Unlocked. My hands were shaking so bad I almost dropped it. I went straight to messages. There he was. Saved now. Mark work. Cute. I opened the thread. And it wasn't one message. It was weeks. Weeks of messages. Inside jokes. Complaints about me. Screenshots of our arguments. Him telling her she deserved better. Her saying I just don't get her. Then I scrolled. The tone shifted. Wish you were here. Last night was amazing. I can still feel your hands on me. My vision actually blurred for a second. I had to sit down. Last night. The Thursday she came home at 11:45. The shower. The perfume. There were selfies. Not explicit but intimate. Her smiling in ways I hadn't seen in months. Him sending gym pics. Stupid flirty garbage. And then one line that punched through everything. I hate lying to him, but I don't know how to stop. I felt like I'd been split in half. Half of me wanted to throw the phone across the room. The other half wanted to keep scrolling, like I was digging for something that would make it less bad. Instead, I heard her footsteps upstairs. Panic hit me. I locked the phone, put it back exactly where it was, and sat down at the kitchen table pretending to scroll on mine. She came down smiling. Smiling. Did you see my phone? She asked casually. I swear my heart stopped. No, I said. And just like that, I lied too. And that's when I realized something. We were both lying now, just at different scales. And I didn't know which hurt more, the betrayal or the fact that I just crossed a line I swore I never would. After I saw the messages, everything she did felt amplified. Every notification, every late meeting, every time she turned her body slightly away from me while texting. I tried to act normal for about 3 days. 3 long, miserable days. I barely slept. I replayed the texts in my head over and over. Last night was amazing. That line just looped. Then something else happened. Saturday morning. She told me she had to run into the office for a couple hours. Weekend work wasn't unheard of, but it wasn't common either. I asked what project. She hesitated. Just a fraction of a second. Budget review stuff. Boring. You wouldn't care. That little dig. Always the dig. She left around 10 a.m. Around 11:30, I checked her location. Yeah. We share locations. Irony. She wasn't at the office. She was at a coffee shop across town. Not near her office. Not near anything we'd normally go to. I stared at the map for a solid minute trying to rationalize it. Maybe she met a coworker there. Maybe it was easier parking. Then her location moved to an apartment complex and stayed there. I felt like my body went cold, like my blood just drained out. I zoomed in on the map like that would somehow change what I was seeing. She was there for 2 hours. When she came home, she looked relaxed, almost lighter. She dropped her bag, kissed my cheek like nothing happened. How was the thrilling budget meeting? I asked. She laughed. You're so sarcastic today. I said I checked her location. The shift in her face was immediate. Not guilt. Annoyance. Why are you stalking me? Stalking. I said she wasn't at the office. She didn't even blink. Oh my God. We moved it to a coffee shop because the conference room was booked. And then a couple of us went to Jenna's place after. You're being paranoid. Jenna. A name I'd never heard before. I asked why she didn't just say that. She rolled her eyes. Because I knew you'd make it weird like this. I felt like I was losing my mind. I knew what I saw. I knew what I read. And yet she said it so confidently that for half a second I questioned my own reality. That's the part people don't talk about enough. It's not just the cheating. It's the way they make you doubt your own sanity. But that night, when she fell asleep, I checked her phone again. The thread with Mark? Deleted. Entirely. And that's when the anger finally started to outweigh the confusion. Once the messages were gone, it was like she thought the whole thing reset. Clean slate. No evidence, no problem. Except I had already seen enough. I barely slept that week. I'd lie there next to her listening to her breathe, staring at the ceiling, my brain running in circles. Every time she shifted in her sleep, I'd wonder if she was dreaming about him. I started noticing more things. Or maybe they were always there. She changed her gym schedule. Suddenly she needed space in the evenings. She bought new underwear, not the comfortable kind she wore around the house. The kind she used to save for special occasions. We hadn't had a special occasion in months. And here's the twist. She started being nicer to me. Too nice. Cooking my favorite meals. Sitting closer on the couch. Initiating sex out of nowhere after weeks of distance. It messed with my head even more. One night, after we slept together, she laid on my chest and said, "See? We're fine. You just overthink." I almost laughed. Not because it was funny, because it was surreal. Overthink. As if I hadn't seen her tell another man she could still feel his hands on her. A few days later, something else happened. Another random jolt. I got a DM on Instagram from an account with no profile picture. No posts. Just a blank name. It said, "Ask your wife where she was last Saturday at 12:47 p.m. That was it. My heart started hammering. I checked the timestamp. It matched the apartment complex visit almost exactly. I replied instantly, "Who is this?" No response. I refreshed. The account was gone. Deleted. Now I didn't just feel betrayed. I felt exposed. Like someone else knew and was watching this unfold. I confronted her again that night, showed her the message. She didn't look scared. She looked irritated. "This is what happens when you act insecure," she snapped. "People see it and mess with you." I asked her directly, "Are you cheating on me?" She didn't hesitate. "No. God, stop. I'm exhausted from defending myself." And somehow, she turned it around. She started crying. Said she felt controlled. Said my accusations were pushing her away. Said maybe the marriage was suffocating her. By the end of that argument, I was apologizing. Again. But something inside me had shifted. Because now it wasn't just suspicion. It was evidence. It was deleted messages. It was anonymous warnings. And it was the look in her eyes, not guilt, not fear. Just annoyance that I wouldn't let it go. I'll keep this one tighter because honestly, this was the turning point. A few days after the anonymous DM, she told me she was going on a work retreat. Overnight. Out of town. Apparently it had been planned for weeks. Funny how I'd never heard about it. I didn't argue. I didn't question. I just said, "Okay." She looked almost suspicious that I wasn't pushing back. The night she left, I sat alone in the house and felt something I hadn't felt in weeks. Clarity. Not peace, just clarity. I knew she was lying. I didn't need another deleted thread or mystery message. Around 9 p.m., I checked her location. Not a hotel. Same apartment complex. Same building. I took a screenshot this time. About an hour later, her location turned off. Just like that. I didn't text her. I didn't call. I just sat there staring at the dark screen, and something inside me finally stopped fighting reality. When she came home the next day, she acted exhausted. Complained about team-building exercises. Showed me one blurry group photo. I asked one question. "Why did your location turn off last night?" She froze for half a second. Then, "Bad signal. You're being paranoid again." That was it. No panic. No attempt to comfort me. Just dismissal. And for the first time in months, I didn't feel confused. I felt angry. Not loud anger. Not yelling. The quiet kind. The kind that means you're done believing lies. The anger didn't explode. It settled. And that scared me more than anything. 2 nights after the retreat, we were sitting at the kitchen table. Normal Tuesday. Dishwasher humming. TV noise in the background. Domestic, boring, painfully ordinary. I looked at her and realized I didn't recognize her anymore. So I just said it. I know about Mark. Silence. Not confusion. Not who. Just silence. She didn't even ask how. She just leaned back in her chair and crossed her arms. This again? She sighed. That sigh did something to me. Like I was inconveniencing her by being hurt. I saw the messages, I said. Before you deleted them. There it was. A flicker. Quick but real. Then she recovered. You went through my phone? Sharp. Defensive. Redirecting. Yes, I said. No apology this time. She laughed. Actually laughed. Wow. So I'm the bad guy? I saw you tell him last night was amazing. Her jaw tightened. You're twisting things. How? It was emotional. I was venting. Nothing physical happened. That was the first version of the story. Nothing physical. I brought up the apartment, the location, the retreat. She stood up so fast her chair scraped across the floor. You tracked me. That's insane. You lied. You pushed me away. There it was. My fault. She started pacing, running her hands through her hair. You've been distant for months. You don't listen. Mark listens. I felt like I'd been slapped. So you slept with him? She stopped pacing. Long pause. I didn't plan for it to happen. That was the confession. Not no. Not outrage. Just justification. I don't even remember standing up, but I was on my feet. My ears were ringing. Felt like the room tilted. How long? She hesitated. Again. 3 months. 3 months. While we were eating dinner together. Sleeping in the same bed. Talking about maybe trying for a baby next year. I felt stupid. Humiliated. Angry. Heartbroken. All of it at once. And the worst part? She looked more frustrated than remorseful. Like this whole confrontation was just exhausting for her. That's when I realized I wasn't fighting for the truth anymore. I was standing in the wreckage of it. I should have stopped asking questions. But once the door is open, you can't pretend it's closed. After she admitted it had been 3 months, I sat back down because my legs honestly felt weak. I remember staring at the table while she stood there, arms folded like she was waiting for me to finish being dramatic. Where? I asked. She exhaled sharply. Does it matter? Yes. Another pause. Then, his place. A few times. And once here. That one hit different. Here. I repeated. You were on that work trip, she said quickly. It's not like you were home. As if that made it better. I felt this wave of nausea roll through me. Our house. Our couch. Our bed. The space that was supposed to be safe. I asked if she loved him. She didn't answer right away. That silence said more than words. I don't know, she finally said. It's different. He makes me feel seen. Seen. I almost laughed again, but it came out like a broken breath. I've been right here, I said. The whole time. You've been physically here, she shot back. That's not the same. It didn't feel like she was sorry. Felt like she was defending a thesis. And then, out of nowhere, she added, if you hadn't been so suspicious and controlling, maybe I wouldn't have needed someone else. That was the moment something inside me cracked. Not shattered, just cracked. Because I replayed the last year in my head. All the times I backed off. All the times I apologized just to keep the peace. All the times I swallowed my instincts. Controlling. I had been shrinking myself to avoid upsetting her. I told her I needed space. That I couldn't process this with her standing there blaming me. She rolled her eyes. Fine. Be dramatic. Dramatic. I slept on the couch that night. Not because she told me to. Because I couldn't stand being next to someone who could lie that smoothly, for that long, and still look at me like I was the problem. And for the first time since this started, I cried. Not loud. Not movie style. Just quiet, exhausted tears into a pillow that suddenly didn't feel like mine anymore. I didn't really sleep. Maybe an hour, max. When morning came, it was weirdly normal. Sunlight through the blinds. Coffee machine humming. The world didn't look like a place where your marriage had just imploded. She was already up, sitting at the table, scrolling her phone like it was any other Wednesday. "Are we going to talk like adults?" she asked without looking up, like I'd thrown a tantrum the night before. I sat down across from her. My chest felt hollow, not even angry anymore, just empty. "I need the full truth," I said. "No more edits, no more minimizing." She rubbed her temples like I was giving her a headache. "It wasn't supposed to get serious," she said. "It started as venting. You and I were fighting a lot. He was just there." I asked if it was over. Long pause. "Yes," she said. "Too fast." "Did you tell him that?" Another pause. "Not exactly." That was the moment I realized she wasn't grieving our marriage. She was managing fallout. I asked if he knew about me, about us trying for kids, about our plans. "He knows we've had problems," she said. "I didn't want to paint you as the villain." That almost made me laugh. "You sent him screenshots of our arguments." She flinched. Slightly. That was out of context. Everything was out of context with her. Then came another curveball. "I think we rushed into marriage," she said. "Maybe we needed more time. 9 years together. 6 married. Now we rushed." It felt like she was rewriting history in real time, trying to justify the present. I asked her one last thing. "If I hadn't found out, would you have told me?" Silence. That silence was louder than any confession. I nodded slowly, and something inside me shifted again, not toward rage this time, toward clarity, because that answer told me everything I needed to know. After that morning, I didn't speak much for a couple of days. Not because we were processing, but because I couldn't. My brain felt like it was running on empty, and every time I looked at her, I saw everything I had missed, everything she had hidden, and every lie she'd told. She tried to act normal, making breakfast, chatting about trivial things. I nodded, but I was somewhere else entirely. My anger wasn't explosive anymore. It was quiet, cold, internal, constant low hum I couldn't shake. I replayed her words over and over. "If you hadn't been so suspicious and controlling," as if I had pushed her into another man's arms. That kept me up at night. That, and the idea that she could lie to my face for months and still smile, still touch me like nothing had happened. I realized my world had shifted. My trust? Gone. My sense of safety? Gone. And the hardest part? I still loved her. Not blindly, not stupidly, but deeply, painfully. The way you love someone who has burned your house down and is now asking you to help rebuild it. I started keeping a notebook. Notes of what she said, what she did, what I felt. It helped me anchor my own reality. Because with her, reality was slippery. And that's when the first real thought of leaving crept in. Not as a threat, not as a bargaining chip, but as a possibility I had to face. Because if she could do this and justify it so easily, maybe our marriage wasn't salvageable. But I didn't act on it yet. I wasn't ready. I just watched, observed, felt, and let the quiet anger simmer. A week later, it happened. The moment I knew I couldn't keep pretending anymore. She came home, smiling like nothing had changed, and plopped down on the couch next to me. I tried to greet her normally. She leaned in, expecting a hug. I froze. My chest tightened. All the anger, betrayal, humiliation. It came rushing back in a wave I couldn't ignore. "Stop," I said, my voice shaking more than I expected. She pulled back, eyebrows raised. "Stop what?" "Stop acting like everything's fine," I said, finally letting the words carry the weight they needed. "Stop lying to me. Stop pretending you care about my feelings when you've been lying to me for months." Her face hardened. "You're acting crazy," she said. "You're overreacting. I've already apologized." "I don't care about apologies anymore," I said. "I care about the truth, and I've had enough of your excuses." Her lips pressed into a thin line, arms crossed. She didn't cry. She didn't beg. She just glared, sharp and cold, like she was annoyed at having to deal with me. That glare hit me harder than any confession, any betrayal. I realized then that the woman I loved, The one I thought I knew was gone. Completely. And the version in front of me didn't care if she destroyed me. I took a deep breath. My hands were shaking. I felt like I was about to explode or collapse, and maybe both. "I need space," I said. I can't do this with you right now." She rolled her eyes, muttered something about dramatic overreactions, and walked away. And that was it. That was the line. That night, I finally understood that some betrayals don't just hurt. They break the foundation entirely. I slept alone. For the first time in years, truly alone. And for the first time in weeks, it felt like a choice I was making for myself, not just reacting to her. The days after that were a blur of emotions. One moment, I was furious, heart pounding, fists clenching at the thought of her with him. The next, I was hollow, staring at the wall, feeling nothing, like someone had drained the color out of my world. I kept reliving the texts, the lies, the little manipulations, the "you're paranoid" comments, the gaslighting, the way she made me feel like the problem. My mind would wander to the apartment complex, the perfume, the late-night meetings, and I'd taste bile in my mouth. Friends called. I lied about being fine. Work was a fog. I went through the motions because I had to, but inside, everything was shattered. I felt betrayed in layers. Not just by her actions, but by her ability to compartmentalize, to smile at me, to touch me, and to make me question my own reality. And yet, amidst all the pain, there were moments of clarity. Sitting on the couch alone, late at night, I realized I had survived the worst part, discovering the truth. The shock had passed, leaving raw emotion that I could feel and name. Anger, yes. Sadness, definitely. But also resolve. Because the truth, as brutal as it was, gave me a choice. I could let it destroy me, or I could decide what I wanted from here. And I finally started thinking seriously about that. I wasn't ready to forgive. I wasn't ready to act. But I knew I had to figure out what I could live with, and what I absolutely couldn't. It was terrifying, but also liberating. After a few more days of sleepless nights and quiet reflection, I realized I couldn't keep pretending this was something I could just move past. Every interaction with her reminded me of the lies, the betrayal, the casual way she dismissed my feelings. I thought about staying, about working through it. Counseling, honesty, rebuilding trust. I even imagined a few what-ifs. Maybe she really could change, maybe we could survive this. But then I remembered the way she rolled her eyes, the way she justified everything, the way she made me feel like the problem. Couldn't. Not without sacrificing myself completely. So I made the decision. I needed distance, space, clarity. I told her I was moving out of the house for a while, that I needed time to process everything before making any permanent choices. She acted annoyed. Not guilty, not regretful, just irritated. But for the first time, that didn't break me. I wasn't begging for her to feel something she clearly couldn't. Packing my things felt surreal. Every shirt, every book, every little item was a reminder of what we had, and what she had taken. I felt grief, yes, but also empowerment. For the first time, I was choosing me. That night, sleeping alone in a new place, I cried a little. But it wasn't the helpless, hollow crying from before. It was release, painful but real and entirely mine. I finally understood that leaving, even temporarily, wasn't defeat. It was survival. Being away gave me perspective. It wasn't just the betrayal that hurt. It was the pattern, the manipulation, the casual cruelty. I realized how much I had ignored red flags, downplayed my instincts, and convinced myself that her sharp words or small lies were just quirks. I learned the difference between love and attachment, between being forgiving and being used, between staying for the person I thought she was and standing up for the person I am. It was messy, emotional, exhausting. Some nights I still cried. Some nights I wanted to call her, to beg her to choose us. But I didn't, because I had finally started prioritizing my own mental health, my own worth. I also realized something hard. Even if she did genuinely feel remorse, I couldn't undo the damage she'd done to my trust. And trust, once fractured that badly, is nearly impossible to rebuild. I started journaling, therapy sessions, late-night runs, anything to reclaim myself. The anger softened slowly into sadness, and the sadness gradually became acceptance. I won't lie, it still stings sometimes. But the worst part isn't the memory of her cheating. It's the memory of how I let myself doubt my own instincts for so long. That's the lesson I carry with me every day. And I want others in a similar situation to hear this. Trust your gut. Don't let apologies erase your pain. Protect your sanity first. Love is not an excuse for abuse, manipulation, or repeated lies, because no relationship is worth losing yourself. Looking back, I've realized this whole experience taught me things I never wanted to learn the hard way. 1. Trust your instincts. I ignored that gnawing feeling for months because I wanted to believe in her. In us. Your gut often sees the truth before your mind admits it. 2. Actions speak louder than words. She could apologize, smile, or act nice all she wanted, but the pattern told the real story. 3. Your emotional safety matters. Staying in a situation that erodes your sense of reality, confidence, or self-worth isn't love. It's damage. 4. Healing takes time. I'm still healing. I don't have all the answers yet, and some nights are harder than others. But each day, I feel a little stronger, a little more myself. I don't know what the future holds, if we'll ever reconcile, if I'll move on completely, if she'll ever truly understand the pain she caused. But I do know this: I won't sacrifice my dignity or mental health again. To anyone reading this who suspects betrayal, who feels the slow gnawing of lies and manipulation, don't ignore it. Document it, feel it, and protect yourself. It's terrifying, heartbreaking, and messy, but facing it is the first step to reclaiming your life. I'm still learning to trust, still learning to love myself first. And honestly, that's the only lesson worth everything I went through.